G'day, welcome to Fishy McFishface. I want to show you how you can work out where the best place is to go snorkeling, spearfishing, scuba diving, whatever it is you do, based on weather reports and information on the internet. Because if you're like me and you have to travel an hour or so to get to your location, you want to make sure it's going to be good when you get there and not just really bad water visibility. So let's get into it. So first of all, I'm going to just look at the weather. So let's say I go for a snorkel sometime during this week. Let's say I'm on holidays, so I can choose one day. Let's say I want to go Wednesday, and you can see the sun. Lucky I've got a nice sunny week, particularly sunny on Wednesday. So we'll look at Wednesday to start with. So what I'm going to do now is go to SwellNet. SwellNet is a surf forecasting website. I used to do a lot of surfing, so I've got a subscription, and you don't need a subscription, but you just get a longer forecast if you've got a subscription. Okay, so if I look at the surf forecast here, you can see the swell's actually quite high for the next few days, and Wednesday is quite a strong swell. So given that on the Gold Coast weather, Saturday was actually sunny as well, and Saturday's got very low swell, that might actually be the best day for snorkeling. But for the sake of this video, let's assume I want to go Wednesday. That's the only day I've got off. I want to go then, and there's a big swell. How do I find a good spot to snorkel? Well, let's have a look at the details. So if I go down to Wednesday and look at the swell, we've got southerly direction swell the whole time, and it's very large swell. It's like 6 foot. This is the offshore wave height, and then when that gets to the coast, that translates to about 6 foot waves, which is very good for surfing but not great for snorkeling. That's for south facing beaches. If you're an east facing beach, it's going to be smaller because the waves have to wrap around, and they go through they lose a bit of height as they wrap around the coast. So swell's looking big. We're going to have to look for a spot to snorkel that isn't actually exposed to the waves, isn't like a beach spot. So we might look at a river entrance instead. That might be the way to go. The wind is good. Westerly, mostly westerly winds, and very low, 6 knots, 4 knots. That's very low winds. That's excellent. So that's a good sign. So all we really need to think about is the swell direction. How can I pick a spot which will be protected from this large swell? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at Google Earth, and I'm going to check a few locations. So this is the Gold Coast here. Of course, I could try, if I've got the, it's a bit expensive, but what I could do, let's close that, is take the ferry over to Moreton Island and snorkel the Tangalooma shipwrecks. So I could do that, but where is it? Here's the shipwrecks over here. All these shipwrecks. Those would be really nice, and the reason why is the winds are low, the swell's coming from the south, so these islands protect all this water here from that swell. So calm water, hardly any wind. That'd be excellent for a Moreton Island snorkel. But let's say I don't want to go take the ferry over. It's probably about $80 to there and back. So let's have a look at some more local options. One of the river entrances I could try is the Seaway Spit, and this could work because we've got swell coming from the south. So these waves will be coming from the south, and they'll wrap around a little bit. But because this seawall on this side is sort of northwest facing, that'll be protected from the swell. So remember, the swell is really the only thing I need to be protected by because the wind is so small. So what I could do is I could go snorkeling along this rock wall here. Now, of course, if I go snorkeling near the edge of this rock wall, you'll still get more wave action happening, and you'll get a bit more churned up sediment. But if I focused more down this side here, this stretch, or even go across to Wavebreak Island, which I haven't done, but I've heard is quite good, that would be pretty protected. Be a good place to snorkel. So let's say that's where I want to choose to go snorkeling. There's a few more factors I need to consider. because what we have here is a river entrance which is going to be affected by tides. So let's have a look at the tides. Alright, so I'm going to check the tides for the Gold Coast Seaway here. We've got tide times and heights on Willy Weather. This is the website I like to use because you can see the tide phase, whether it's rising, falling, whether it's at high tide. And we're going to look at Wednesday. So Wednesday, I could go in the morning, and ideally I'd want to go just as the sun comes up, because of course we want that sunlight so we can actually see things. But don't want to go towards the middle of the day because low tide, it might be a little bit dirtier. So low tide's okay at the Seaway Spit if there hasn't been rain for a long time, but generally high tide's better for snorkeling. So I'd want to be looking at high tide. I don't want to go, be in the water around 8 o'clock, 8:30, because that's when the tide changes and you'll get a strong current. So that's not going to be pleasant. You'll be kicking against that current the whole time. And similar, I could go late in the afternoon as well, at about 4, maybe get in the water at 4:20. There'll be a bit of current, but if I pick the time right, or let's have a look. If it's Wednesday, tide in the afternoon, it's the tide's going high, which means the ocean water is coming into the entrance. That means the current's going to be going this way. So if I want to snorkel, let's say I pick the afternoon, if I want to snorkel along this stretch here, I would start my snorkeling maybe at there's a little dive site here. I'd start at this entrance and I'd snorkel, put that back. I'd snorkel this direction. And that way I'm not fighting the current. I'm just drifting with the current. And I think there's actually there's an exit point not too far away. You can go all the way around to the sand here, but there's actually another entry point a bit closer. So it's not easy to see here, but there is another one. They might have built it after Google Earth was there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the afternoon. There'll be a little bit of current, but at least it'll be nice and sunny to start with, and jump in here, follow the current around, and I should be protected from the waves, and the tide will be nice and high, and I'll be able to see plenty of wildlife. Okay, so there's a few other things that I'll check. Just to be sure, I want to make sure there hasn't been too much rain recently, because we've had, so you can see here we've got precipitation, no rain, no rain, no rain. But on the day itself, sometimes weather can change. Just check this one here. So if I go Bureau of Meteorology and I look at the 24-hour setting for this area, it shows me the accumulation of rainfall across the whole area. You can see here, Southport, which is what I'm interested in, the Gold Coast Seaway, there hasn't been much rain at all, like 0.2, less than 10 millimeters, much less, just a tiny bit of scattering. It's mostly been rain out in the ocean. So that's looking pretty good. If you had lots of rain on the land, with the dark blues and green colors within the last 24 hours, then you might not want to go snorkeling, although the Gold Coast Seaway is pretty resilient to rain. But if you've had that for the last few days, then you wouldn't want to. So if we go back to weather, sunny, 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 that looks okay. But of course, if we had rainy, 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 and then the next day we want to go snorkeling and it's clear, that might not be a good idea, because the seaway is still going to have to clear up the dirty water from there. So keep that in mind when you're looking at your location. You want to check the rain as well, previous rain. Another thing I want to do is just have a look at the wave buoy. If you haven't snorkeled for a while, then you might find the water temperatures a bit different. So I'm going to scroll down to, this is for Tweed Heads. So this is actually down here at the border of New South Wales, so it's a bit further south, but not too far. You can see we've got the wave heights that are live coming in, and I'm going to look at the temperature. And you can see the temperature's been, for the last couple of days, it's been pretty steady at 22 degrees Celsius, which is fantastic. Worth having a wetsuit, that's for sure. but doesn't need to be too thick. In fact, you could probably get away with a spring suit if you're not in the water for too long. So that's just checking the sea surface temperature. And finally, if it's available, you can actually look at sand bypassing campaigns. Now I think there might be a way you can check for the seaway spit. This one's actually for the Tweed sand bypass, so the Tweed River, which is not this one here, but this one down here. They do dredging in there as well. But you might want to look for at your location, if you have a website or an app which actually tells you the latest sand pumping and dredging activities, then that can be useful too, because you may not, so this is an example of their app, you know, what the bathymetry is like, when the last dredging has it been, there's no activity. That way you can just be sure there's not a dredging boat nearby. So I've found the dredging boats don't make a huge difference to the Gold Coast Seaway when I've been there, but I've heard from others that it can make a significant difference if they're dredging in a particular spot. So you can check that online as well. Okay, so that's all I would do to check forecasts and work out the best location. Check the weather, check the swell forecast, the winds, look at your locations available to you, have a look at the rain that's been recently, and look at the water temperature. Those are the main things. I hope this is useful for you so you can find the right times to go snorkeling, the right places to go snorkeling, and can enjoy the water with good visibility. Anyway, I'll make sure you like and subscribe, share the video around if you found it useful, and I'll see you in the next video, or I'll see you in the water. Cheers.